Welcome to the Legal Advice in Paradise podcast, brought to you by www.legaladviceinparadise.com. Even in one of the most beautiful places in the world, life can be litigious. On this podcast, the best and brightest legal minds gather to help you navigate your way through every legal question you may face. This program will help you know your rights, know what steps to take, and help you find the best legal representation, all in simple, easy to understand terms. And now, here's your host, Justine Gronwald.
Aloha, and thank you for tuning in to our next podcast episode. Want to make sure you never miss an episode, as well as get tips on how to hire an attorney and be eligible for monthly prizes? It's easy. Just join our free membership called the Agent of Change membership. Text your name and your email to area code 808-670-3400. Make sure you text back agree. And also, to check out our past episodes, just log into www.legaladviceinparadisepodcast.com. Now enjoy the next episode. Aloha. Aloha, Agents of Change. This is Justine with Legal Advice in Paradise, and we're here for part 2 with attorney Scott Makuakane. And this time, last episode, we covered estate planning, and we realized how important that is. Today we're going to address elder law, something I'm not familiar with, so this is going to be an education for me. And with the aging population, this is a very crucial topic that we need to address. With all of us adult children, we have more of this to think about, obviously. Sure. So why don't you tell us more what elder law addresses and how it protects, or what's the benefit of, having elder law?
Okay, well, elder law isn't really precisely defined as particular things, but generally what it relates to is the kind of issues you deal with as you get older. Mm-hmm. So those would be things like long-term care. How do you plan for it? How do you pay for it? Making plans in those kinds of areas. Protecting against exploitation, whether it's financial or physical or whatever it is. Just planning for other kinds of governmental benefits that might be relevant. One of the kinds of things that elder law really closely involves is planning for incapacity.
Wait, let me ask you this. So this is different than estate planning. This is on top of estate planning, or complementary, or must-have?
It kind of overlaps. Because some issues become more important as we get older. But some issues, for example, paying for your care later on. I mean, you and I don't really want to think about ever being in a nursing home. Yeah. But if we ever are, we don't want to wait until it's time to go in before we start planning on how to pay for it. Because nursing home is expensive. The average monthly nursing home cost in the state of Hawaii right now is $8,850.
$8,000. I was thinking a smaller amount than that.
Well, in a skilled nursing situation, the number that they use for Medicaid purposes, $8,850
a month.
But that doesn't mean that in some circumstances, someone who needs a lesser level of care might not be a lot less expensive than that.
So go more into when people come to you, say somebody has been exploited, maybe there's a sibling that says, hey, my other sibling has been siphoning out stuff, or coming to the mom or dad who doesn't, is not in their right mind and taking stuff, or what are the things that you see generally?
Yeah, well, a lot of times we see the problem after the fact, and that's really hard, because a lot of times it's hard to either recover assets from someone who has taken them because they may not have them anymore, for one thing. Yeah. And proving the exploitation, proving the theft or whatever it is, can be really hard. So really what you want to do is plan ahead for how those kind of things maybe can be prevented. So that would be by way of, for example, having a revocable living trust. You transfer your assets into the trust. So as long as you're competent, you can take care of it yourself. You have complete control. But as you start to lose capacity, you can either turn over the reins to somebody else, or if there's some catastrophic event and all of a sudden you're not competent anymore, your chosen, your hand-picked successor decision maker can step up and start managing things on your behalf. So it's a matter of really making sure that the people that you want to be in charge of your things are the ones who actually are, as opposed to leaving it to some kind of a default or just whoever happens to come along in terms of, your family members or your friends.
Now, you as the attorney, what is your function in elder law? Do you prepare some type of document, or is it when somebody comes to you with this type of exploitation or abuse? Where do you fit in?
Well, it's kind of planning ahead to avoid the problems. Helping clients understand that they do need to plan ahead now for paying for care later on, and just helping them understand a lot of the options. In my practice, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a financial planner. I don't sell any kind of financial products. But I can help clients understand, well, if I buy a long-term care insurance policy, what kinds of things should I be looking for? What kinds of issues arise? So, for example, with an older long-term care insurance policy, it may have a lot stricter requirements than a newer policy would in terms of when the insurance company will actually step up and start making payments. So it's important to work with an insurance professional who really knows their way around long-term care insurance. It's kind of like you don't want to go to any lawyer for any legal problem. You want to go to someone who really focuses their practice on that problem. Same thing with insurance. You want to go to an insurance person, an insurance professional who really focuses on long-term care in order to have the right kind of policy, because they can guide you and they can help you figure out things like, if I have a policy that's going to pay $250 a day benefit today, what's that policy going to buy me in 10 years or 20 years? So it's building in the right riders that will increase your benefit over time so that you're going to be covered, even as prices go up in the future.
Right. And as far as elder law, do people come to you just for that, or is that always go hand in hand with the whole estate planning?
It kind of goes hand in hand with the estate planning, but a lot of times people will be alerted to certain kinds of issues. For example, advanced healthcare directives. I mean, that's something that we think of as an older person kind of thing.
Right.
Although, there's nothing saying that a younger person can't be incapacitated and need someone else to make healthcare decisions for them. But a lot of the issues relating to elder care involve medical treatment, involve who's going to be able to have access to medical information. And so you have to have the right documentation in place to make sure that you've got the right decision makers. And that's kind of one half of the equation. The other half is making sure that your medical treatment providers have your permission to talk to the people that you've given the authority to make decisions for you. Because your medical records are very private. They're protected by a very high standard under the law. So you need to make sure that you've given your medical professionals your permission to talk to the people who are going to be your decision makers.
Now, explain what exactly are directives.
Okay, an advanced healthcare directive does several different things. I mean, it starts with kind of a power of attorney for healthcare decisions. So you can say, hey, look, if I'm unconscious and I can't grant medical consent or decide whether or not to have a given surgery or something like that. Well, this is the person who does it for me. Now, a lot of times people assume, well, if I'm married, that's going to be my spouse, right? But that's not the way it works under Hawaii law. There's no there's no default to the spouse. What Hawaii law says is if you don't have any kind of a directive in place, then there is a meeting of the interested persons, and that term is not defined anywhere. So it starts out with a meeting of a group of people in a room, and you don't know who's going to be in the room. They come to a consensus as to who your surrogate decision maker should be.
And the spouse is like...
Well, the spouse probably is going to be included, but depending on the spouse's personality and who else is involved, it's anybody's guess as to who's going to rise to the top and actually be the decision maker.
I just assumed it would be the spouse.
You'd think. Yeah. You would think. So if you want to make sure that it's going to be your spouse, you should have an advance directive that names your spouse.
If not,
and then names the contingents. Well, what if my spouse isn't available? Do you want it to be your kids? Do you want it to be somebody else? You go ahead and name those people in the correct order, so that if and when the situation comes up, it's going to be your choice of decision maker. So that's one thing that the Advanced Healthcare Directive does. Another thing it does is say who's going to make the decision about end-of-life kinds of issues.
I was going to ask you that, like in the case of my dad, there needed to be a decision because he was, at that point on life support.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's a decision that's really hard. And we were all there as a family. And so when you get to that point, when you're conscious about it, do you say what you want to happen? Like, I know some people say, I don't want to stay on life support. As soon as I get to the point, just pull the plug, or, that type of thing. So you plan for that too? Like when you get to the point where you can't breathe on your own, you need a machine to breathe, to have your heartbeat, to have everything. When I get to that point, I just want you to, what they call, pull the plug. Is that what directives help with too?
And that's part of it, yeah. And it's really important to understand that in your Advanced Healthcare Directive, you can say that your agent, that is the person that you've picked as your decision maker,
Mm-hmm.
that's the person who's going to make those end-of-life decisions.
Not anyone else.
Well, and it's tricky because if you say in your Advanced Directive, well, look, if my condition is A, B, and C.
No, yeah, because I imagine there's different stages, and
that's right.
You don't want to do it too early. You don't want to have it linger. It's like such a hard decision.
Well, that's right, and you also don't want to set up a conflict between the doctors and the family members, because if you say if my condition is A, B, and C, and a doctor says, well, Scott's condition is A, B, and C, it's time to pull the plug. And my family, on the other hand, is saying, no, wait, we don't want to pull we want to get a second opinion or whatever it is.
Right. What happens in those instances?
Well, you can have a fight with the medical providers. And that's one of those things you want to avoid.
Now, do they check the directives at that point, if there is one, to determine?
Yeah, pretty much when you go into the hospital, by federal law, they have to ask you, do you have a medical directive?
Oh, okay.
And then the next question is, well, can we have a copy? So they want to have a copy in your file. So yeah, the doctors will have access to the healthcare directive, and so it's a really good thing, just depending on what your preferences are, and it's important to understand your options. So one option is, well, I'd like that to be in the hands of my medical doctor, and that's fine. That's one of the options you can choose. But if you say, well, no, I don't necessarily want my medical doctor to make that decision, I want it to be a family decision, then you need to say that in your directive, so that there's not going to be a fight between the medical people and the family people.
I'm thinking, though, because it's your family member, and the doctors would know more professionally when is the time, whereas the family members may want to hang on as long as possible. So I'm thinking about those instances too.
You can have
the
that
doctor
situation.
will tell them, well, this is it. It's not going to change any. This person can stay this way for a very long time if we keep them hooked up to everything imaginable. And then it would be their decision, like, would this person want this to happen if they were,
Yeah, on the other hand, I've actually litigated a couple of cases.
I was going to ask you, has anything
issues.
gone to trial because of this?
Yeah, and in one of the cases, an individual was determined to be essentially brain dead, and so they pulled out the feeding tubes. There's no food, no water going to this person.
Wow.
Their kidneys had actually begun to shut down. But we were able to get into court and convince a judge that, why don't you give us 2 weeks just to see what we can do with this person. Wow. And the conflict in this case was between stepmom and the person's kids. So it was the spouse of the person who was in the hospital who had pretty much decided, no, it's time to pull the plug.
And the kids
and
said
the kids
no.
saying it's not time to pull the plug yet.
See, this is the kind of situations I'm thinking about, because I'm sure it happens a lot. Now, when you went into litigation, it sounds like something you had to do right away. How do you see a judge so quickly in these kind of cases?
There are ways to get in and see a judge in an emergency situation,
okay,
and this was an emergency
because
situation.
I was thinking you can't wait for a court date. You just got to do it as soon as possible.
Right. So the judge heard the evidence, and essentially turned to my clients and said, okay, guys, you got 2 weeks. Go feed your dad. Let's see what happens. 2 weeks later, Dad came with us to the courtroom to thank the judge for keeping him alive.
Oh my goodness!
Now, this is a person. There were doctors on the other side.
Wow.
very well qualified, very sincere, and I'm sure, acting in good faith and just acting under the best of, intentions.
Right.
But they said this guy was a goner. And in that case, they just happened to be wrong. And so it's lucky for him that his kids were willing to stand up and fought for him.
And then you went to court.
And the guy's still alive and well, driving his car, and
I love
very
this
functional.
Story.
So
okay.
so the point of the Advanced Healthcare Directive is just making sure that you say who you want to have making the decisions. Now, I have clients who are medical doctors who say, I don't want my family getting involved in that one. I want my doctor to make the decision, and that's fine. That's one of the options you can pick. But it's a lot of times people don't understand that there's options, so they don't understand that they can pick and choose between the two.
Wow, that's good to know. I'm glad we covered this because what I like the aspect about this is uncovering real life stories connected with the area of practice. That's why I do Witness Wednesdays, where if I, interview an attorney, I'd like to hear a real life story that is related to it, because I think people can relate to these stories because it's something that they probably heard happen before, or it gives them something to chew on, like, okay, then we really need to be prepared because of this story. Look at what happened. And so I'm glad you were able to share. I love that story, that he survived and everything. So is there anything else we want to cover of elder law, or?
Well, among the other kinds of things you can cover in your estate plan, whether it's in your Advanced Healthcare Directive or even in a separate document, is a lot of times people have preferences about the kind of care they want to receive. So you can say, for example, and we've done this for clients where they've said, look, if you're going to park me in front of a TV, let's say I'm in a nursing home. If you're going to park me in front of a TV, but this is for real. This is a for real example.
Oh, okay.
This one person said, make sure that there's a cooking show, a Korean soap opera, or a Filipino show. Otherwise, take me back to my room. But see, you can say that.
That's real.
That's real. You can talk about the kind of music you like to listen to. You can talk about
So
the
it's
kind
very
of food
detailed.
you like to
Yeah,
eat.
okay.
We've had clients say, I don't want to be cooped up all the time.
Yeah.
If you could roll me outside, maybe 15 minutes a day, I'd really love that. So if you put that in writing, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get everything you want, but at least your providers are going to know, well, this is the kind of thing the person would like. And most of the time people are going to help, make sure that your wishes are carried out.
Right. Does Medicaid Medicare come into play with any of this that we're talking about?
Medicaid certainly does. Now, Medicare is something that you qualify for just by turning 65.
Okay.
So that's basically health
65.
insurance for once you turn 65. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have, you just got to turn 65 and you get it. Medicaid, on the other hand, is something that a lot of times seniors use for purposes of paying for, say, nursing home expense. But Medicaid is something you have to qualify for based on income and assets. So there are tests, and there are pretty clear rules under the law, although the rules are changing. And so that's one of the challenges of the Medicaid area, is that you don't necessarily know what the rules are even from day to day or month to month, because they do change. And with Obamacare and the medical profession sort of changing, there are a lot of rules that have changed and a lot of methods that have changed that you kind of have to stay on top of and be aware of in order to be able to sort of navigate through the system.
And the Medicaid would help, like my stepmom has a company called Nightingale Case Management, where they're the case management go-between the people who need care in the homes that have beds available. And they take care of that Medicaid thing. So I imagine that goes for nursing homes as well, and all those important things.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you've covered everything, you think? For aging population?
We've covered a lot.
Yay, great. Okay, well, thank you so much, Scott.
Oh, yeah,
This
thank
concludes our part 2.
Okay.
And so, as usual, we'll shaka out for the video part of it, and we say aloha for the audio part. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Legal Advice in Paradise podcast. For more information, visit www.legaladviceinparadise.com.